good evening, and happy New Year. Hey, I gotta give a shout out to Reverend Shakesha in the Atlanta region. Hey, what's up? you get to see the live stream, huh? I appreciate you. We talk about it, and you asked me how do I get my practices in. This is how I do it. Again, we are saying Happy New Year to you. It's been a minute since I've been streaming. It's been a minute. Yes, the creator and the ancestors was working with me by the end of last year. They were trying to get me right and get me prepared for what 2024 is all about. And so as we step into this new year and we're doing this first major live stream from the African Speaks, of course we did Martin Luther King Day, but this wasn't talking about what we normally talk about. So this is that back on schedule, getting to the lessons and the downloads and sharing the downloads with you. And of course, if you missed the Inspirational Sunday from Akiba Land, you missed the breakdown on how we define 2024 as the season of a great harvest. This is the season of a great harvest. The year 2024 represents moving energy, constant moving energy at a high velocity, meaning whatever you reap, whatever you give out is going to come back this year. Whatever you've been working on for the last 7 years, this is the year to go out and manifest all the thoughts, all the dreams, all the work that you have put in, all the prayers that you've given. This is that year. 2024 is the year of increase and promotion. If this is the season of a great harvest. And so we also stated that you have to be careful during this season because you're getting back what you sow. So if you're not making right choices, if if you don't have a righteous mindset, whatever seed that you sow is going to be exactly the harvest you receive. And it's coming in an abundance. This is the season of abundance. So whatever you push forward. Now, of course, I can sit down and say, hey, I'm speaking to the ancestors and to the creator, into the universe, into the source, however you want to say it. Let come back. What I've been working on for the past 7 years, let it come back in this great harvest season. And so I'm putting the work out this year as functioning from my crown chakra, the I know chakra. I know the things that I've been working on and things that we as a community have been working on and hoping for are coming to pass this season. Let's not waste this energy. This energy is coming back in a high velocity. For details, we might talk about it some more during the Keebler Inspirational Sunday, but the kids got it. Parents, if you was watching, you got it. And if you missed it, go ahead and roll back and get that lesson. And now we have been on this experience of dealing with the power of the divine self. And when it came to me to actually do this lesson, I sat down and said, you know what? This is not a one stream thing. I cannot just do this, just speak on this one day, and all of a sudden it's completely internalized about the beings that we are. So I said, let me break this down in steps or in chapters and deliver this in a more complete manner so that if anybody picks up this and starts eating off of it, they're going to find themselves full. Because if I give it to them in fractions, talking about the divine self in our community, we call it the best self. Your greatest self, your most powerful self, your inner being, that inner God or goddess within you. I said, let me start breaking this down. And so that's what we did. And I always will say we, because when I tell you the ancestors are delivering this information and saying, we want you to arrange it this particular way. Well, go here and look at this, go here and look at that. Hey, and then arrange it a particular way so it's easily digestible. And I get it. And I try to put it together and give it. So this is, a lot of times it's not me. You can see my flaws and they're apparent. But When it came down to breaking this down, I said, wow, I sit in awesome time because I'm just a vessel. And so in that place, what we did was we've been having these discussions. We've been having these discussions. The first one was an introduction. And I had someone ask me, hey, before you go live, can I get the links to the previous lessons? Because I want to be up on top. I want to be on point. I want to be there when you do this fifth class because I've been missing it. And I went through Facebook, because you can find. I was looking for them on the YouTube page, and for some reason I couldn't find them. And I was like, wait a minute, is it live? It is definitely live streaming on the YouTube page. But I said that can people actually see it? And I'm looking at it now. So it is live streaming. So I got to make sure it's saved, uploaded, and pushed on the YouTube page. But the first one was the introduction. Second one we broke down in two parts because you couldn't talk. It's called the understanding the source, part A and part B. We had to break that down completely. And however you want to label it, the universe, source, God, Allah, Elohim, Jah, whatever you want to say, it's the source, it's the beginning, it's the supreme level of consciousness. And we break that down for you to understand. God is cosmic energy and creative intelligence. There's the highest level of energy in the universe, and there's nothing above it. And we sat down and said, we broke it in detail so that you could understand that you are a manifestation of divine thought producing a physical existence. And we said, okay, well, let's go back. Chapter 2, the power of the divine self, the atomic particle. And we said that God's language is mathematics and science. If anybody sits down and says, I don't like math and I don't like science, you're saying, I don't want to understand the language God has used for us to understand the universe in which we live. Ain't that something? It's different from saying math and science is difficult for me. Change the language. It's difficult for me. It's a challenge for me to understand or grasp. That's more acceptable than saying what you don't like. So if you're saying it's difficult, you can sit down and take the time to look at some things in science and math to make it make sense for you. Because without this, we could not understand the world around us and how we exist. And we broke that down all the way to the smallest particle. And we showed examples of how much energy a human being, a being that we are, exudes with explosions. And we showed that level. How much energy do you walk in? We said that energy that moves back and forth, that moves the atom back and forth, that's the presence of power of God right there, because no one knows where that comes from. That energy that shakes it, and it decides whether or not it's a gas, a solid, or a liquid. No one knows where that energy comes from. However, it's everywhere and in everything. Tell me that doesn't describe the source. Then we sat down and said, if everything is all connected within that energy, let me show you how it existed in the experience of Mayat, where everything is judged by a state of balance. We're talking about the divine self. Yes, that is the conversation. That is definitely the conversation. And so we dealt with Mayat and the 42 principles of Mayat, how they live life, and how the fact that your life is balanced by the weight of a feather. Can you imagine that? If all the good things that you were done and said, yeah, let's see how your heart is. He said, take your heart, put it in the heart, put a feather up there. And there were certain breakdowns in terms of how you lived as a human being. How did you live? Equates whether or not you got to see a state of righteousness. So in that state, knowing that Kemet is one of the oldest and one of the most influential civilizations, you sit down and say, how do you build a civilization that is not based off of the unification of human and earth and life and people and one another? But what do you manifest when that happens? We're going to get into that because that right there connects with the one we're talking about lesson today. And then we went into chapter 4, melanin, the gift of the gods. Mm. When we're talking about the power of the divine self, the inner spirit, the inner power being, the spiritual being that is within you, within your reach, holds all your gifts, talents, attributes, characters, holds all the power of who you're called to be, and it holds the solutions to whatever gifts that you're bringing. Melanin, the vibration of melanin is a tool that is used to keep us in line with the universe or source, God. And so from that point, I said, I heard them say, it's time to talk about chapter 5. The motherland connection. Chapter 5, the motherland connection. One love, Rob. I appreciate you. And in that chapter 5, the motherland connection, I see I didn't particularly know what I was going to write, what I was going to say, and I allowed myself to slow down. Usually when you see somebody meditating, that's when I put this graphics together, I put me in my most submissive mode, meditating and seeing the culture, the people that I come from, but also seeing the land. And I said, help me develop this so that I can produce this and give this as a part of the lesson. Now, in that lesson, it took me way back. And they had me looking at things that said, hey, we need to understand the power that crafted the universe for us to exist in it. We already said mathematically the source created, or the creator created, God created the universe, the universe in which we live in, because there's other universe, and it is not above or below my God to create other universes with other beings. I am not going to ever believe that we are the only beings that God can create. Ha! That means you got a small God if that's what you believe. Now, give me a knowing about that. And if I ever get that knowing information, I'll start researching it and I'll find it and I'll teach it. But he wanted me to, the universe and the ancestors wanted me to take you back and have you actually take a look at the development of the planet before it said, let us make man. Because if you take the time to understand what it took to prepare this blue ball that we're on for us to live in. When you sit down in a biblical scripture, it said God created the heavens and earth, but the earth was void. It's nothing here. It was nothing. The earth is 4.5 billion years old. 4.6. Some say now because it's gotten older. And so when you start looking at life and you start dealing with the issue of spirituality and you start looking at your connection to the divine, the first thing is really take a look at what the creator did and how long it manifested before he says, or she says, and you'll see that next, she says, let us create man in our image. And so at 4.5 billion years, the mother of all creation went to work. Because we are literally, as humans, only 3.5 million years old. And we'll get down to that. But to have the mother of all creation begin life or manifesting the universe and this earth 4.5 billion years ago. On Netflix, there's a thing about this Earth that Morgan Freeman is the voiceover, and Steven Spielberg is doing it. Take a look at it because it literally takes you back this far, and it brings you to the experiences that the mother of all creation was doing. It wasn't just flash. Let me put the universe together and put man on it, and not. No, most of the time when we talk about that, we don't understand the work, because what I want us to get, that God's time and our time, two drastically different things. The source's time and our time, two drastically different experiences. And so the mother of all creation went to work. And in that space of going to work, creating the experience of nature. Nature is an experience in God. You're like, Nature is an experience in God. Now, we are, when he said, let us create God, men in our image. In nature, things that were created to manifest nature, and that's rocks, water, mountains, hills, all types of vegetation and plants, insects, amoeba. All those things can only vibrate on the frequency in which they were called. It all has energy, it all has a vibration. And they all are the manifestation of divine thought, but they don't have the power of free will. Now, they have thinking, the ability to think. They can evolve the same way anything else can. They can evolve. But the earth was covered in vegetation and animals, and those things could not move beyond their creation unless they were moved, they were driven to the adaptation of the changing of the planet. And so they say we have things that adapted and change. But in that space before then, everything vibrated at a particular frequency. And that's we'll get to that. I'm rushing. I don't want to rush. And so when you look at it, why does it bring you peace? Why does it give you calm? Why does it make you at ease? Why in all spiritual disciplines do they say to get closer to the Creator, experience yourself in nature? I know my scenario, been vegan now since and I was like the pescatarian, where you're only eating fish, and I in order to get greater health, because I was dealing with my genetics, because and then I don't sleep a lot. I create, I read, I study. This is what I do in my time. This is what I do. I love it because I know I'm being used by source. So I love it. Never complain. And if I'm ever called to produce what is in me in terms of the thus saith the Lord, I never hesitate. I'm always saying yes. So I got to come to Texas because I've been asked to come to Texas to do this in Texas. It's coming this year, promise. And so me becoming vegan since August, I've been having cravings for meat. And my daughter said, Daddy, anytime you do that, that means you need to be grounded. And if you need to be grounded, please take your shoes off and go and stand in nature. Put your foot in grass, put your foot in the soil. God needs to ground. You need to be grounded to the earth. And so in that space, once everything was created perfect, then the Creator said, okay, The Earth is 4.6 billion years ago old. And so now 3.5 million years after the transition of only having amoeba to the where the most of the animals came out of the water to dinosaurs to the bloom and the asteroid hitting the Earth. And it's saying, okay, now it's time to let us make man in our image, one male and one female. So now Source is manifesting consciousness and making it physical. Go ahead and look at, if you Netflix, This Earth, I believe it's called. It's Morgan Freeman. If you type in Morgan Freeman and just look at the first chapter and see what the creator went through to manifest something so mathematically perfect. That's in chapter 2, the atom, for us as beings to exist. And then once you do that and you realize the work, the genius work that was involved with this, then take a look at where he said, I need to give you birth. Now, you're going to hear some things in this that you already knew. We knew life started on the continent. A lot of people say, yeah. We understand that Africa is definitely, without shadow of a doubt, the birthplace of humanity, but they tried to not say that because it justified their enslavement of the first beings. Let's say beings, human beings by then, because when we got here, we were just beings. Why? Because there was only one version of us. It was only one version until humanity began to develop, meaning that you got different hues of man. I had a picture where the face and she had a bunch of it's a bunch. Let me see if I can find it. And it's a bunch of different hues where you can see that man came from one space, and I didn't put it up here, but all came from the African genotype. All of it, humanity came from the African genotype. So if you go back far enough, there is only one being, and it's an African being. It's different versions, weaker or stronger versions of an African being. And it doesn't matter what fossils they're looking for. So far, right now, to date, they have something that comes out of Morocco at 300,000 years. I had a map that showed where Europeans came out of, and they only like 40,000 years old, maybe. And we can date back to 250, 300,000 years ago. And that's how old. Some archaeological studies, get my pronunciation right. Yeah, y'all know what I'm saying. Show that the different species of being, we're Homo sapiens, but they said there are certain sites that have a collection of the beings at one location. So it shows that everybody existed at the same time, and the one who was able to adapt to the changing environment is the one that stayed. Ain't that something? So it's just challenging, but there is no denying that the oldest form of a being comes out of the continent of Africa. and then migrated out. And I don't have I didn't put the migration map up in here. So if you really want to know how we migrated and where we went, we're going to start the African history class again, or go to the YouTube page, because it's on the YouTube page and you can look at that. We got a lot of big replies from the African history page, as well as the African spirituality page. We, man, put together, we had 10,000 views of individuals that were, non-members, because I don't really direct people to the African Speaks YouTube page, but we getting there. We getting there. This year is the year of the great harvest, and so I'm seeking to see that happen on most of the things that we produce. And so in this space, we understand that all life comes from the motherland. Everybody, every gene, it doesn't matter who it is, can be traced back to the continent of Africa. Some people call it Akibaland. We call our program the World of Akibaland, right? We got Akibaland alumni too. Yes. We are making sure that we're connecting the roots. Now, this is how we connect this to the power of the divine self, this journey. And so in that space where if you realize the difference, we're only 300,000. They got us back to 300,000 years old in terms of Homo sapien. However, man is 3.7 million years old, but then the planet is 4.5 billion years old. And so that God time and man time, how we look at time, totally different. And so things were developed on that behalf. And so you want to sit down and you take a look at the continent. And you look across it from coast to coast, head to toe, not according to what media wants you to see, but you look at the land. Look at the land that manifested humanity. And realize in that land, you had every raw resource. Every raw resource. You have a plethora of vegetation. You have an abundance of food in terms of fruits, vegetables, and meat, wheat, grain, rice. Wait, because we can sit down and say coffee, cotton, oil, gold. We have iron ore, right? Crude oil. What wasn't on the motherland? Uranium. Fish all around. And when you see the beauty of the land that humanity came from, the first thing you ask yourself in your journey into understanding the power of the divine self, when you start looking at the being you come from, you have to say to yourself, what type of being is created in that space where everything around, every tribe, every person, everybody understood that they lived in a religious universe. Religious as meaning everything was related. Everything was interconnected. There was not anything that they experienced that was not manifested by divine thought. A lot of people will come back and say God lives in Africa. When you see it for what it was and what it is and what it will be again, the source of all humanity. At one point, it was the center of all wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. What type of being is manifested when they come from an environment that is so full of abundance? And not only that, where everything, the vibrations of divine spiritual energy is all around them. They couldn't run from it. If they were hungry, they ate. If they needed clothes, they produced them. If they needed housing, they built it. What was the type of being? What was the type of African that came out of that? The third eye, the awareness, where there is no interference from, and y'all need to take a look at that. That's in lesson 3, the experience of Maya. What happens when you have no interference from European concept of thinking? Who were we? And when you get to the understanding of, that had to be a powerful spiritual individual that lived in the environment where all was abundant. Why? Because they say when you're stressed out, yeah, get away from the city and civilization. When you are a disarray, harmonious. Get a plant, plant something. Go get life. Get an animal. Why? Because they connect to you. Understand the type of being that lives in that serene and abundant environment where there is no need for anything. All they have to do is understand their relationship to the entire experience. What type of being is that? And then you get to the point where what type of families manifest from being those type of spiritual beings in the environment of abundance? What type of beings are those? They say when you have male and female, you come together, you experience source. And when you experience source, you produce, and in the reproduction, you produce other beings to embody consciousness, divine consciousness. And you teach that, you share that, you grow that. And there is nothing, if someone, you because you live in an environment that is fueled by divine energy. Everybody has, you share everything. You become a communal people, sharing what you have and giving what you have because you understand that nothing you have belongs to you. It all is a gift from the source. It is all a gift from God. It is all a blessing from Allah. It is all a presence from Jah. It is all a manifestation from Elohim. And so you have these family units who are not struggling for food, clothes, shelter. No, you're building it. You're open. You're looking at the resources you have. And so what happens when you have families manifesting in that experience? From that family, what types of civilizations are developed? Now you understanding this. You understanding that there's something here. We were a different type of people than what they're showing us. There's something here. There was a people that walked the earth that had no interference to their relationship with God, period. No relationship with the inner strength of who they are, whose they are, and why they're here. To give praise, to develop, to grow, to think deep, to manifest. Let us see what it is. And so when you look at these, you start studying. When you're studying, it's more than just history. This is the movement of a people who is given that the earth was given to them as a gift. We are nothing but consciousness. Earth created for us. And it wasn't a small thing. We talk about great indigenous civilizations way before the invasion of European people. Why? Because everybody's exploring. It's like somewhere along the line, if man came from one location, there was documentation in these other areas of where they came from. And so I believe that they went back to see, well, let me see what there. Let's travel. Let's see what's going on there. And so they started exploring and coming into a continent that had nothing but sheer abundance. Yeah. If you're not here, yeah, we'll share whatever. Which why? Because they understood that all they had was a gift and a manifestation from the mother of all creation, Mother Earth. She gifted the African genotype with everything it needs so that it could focus on its relationship and connection with one another, its relationship and connection to the land, its relationship and connection to God. All the animals, vegetations, that's why you can't find an African people that does not equate everything to something divine. There is no waste. Everything is something divine, even names, special days, animals, stones. Woo. How did they know the property of a stone? Why? Because there were people who walked the earth that had direct access to knowledge and wisdom because we were here brought to manifest and grow and give worship to the Creator and gave us all things that vibrate at particular frequencies, patterns that trigger thoughts, shapes, symbols that represent divine. Africa, the continent, was a gift to humanity. And when we came in contact with the Europeans, individuals who left, and over millions of years, who went from chocolate to vanilla, and they came back, they didn't come back to savages. They came back to highly advanced cultures, perfectly administrated and ruled by powerful and deeply wealthy kings and queens. And I'm going to take it a step further. Because we go out and we call each other kings, we call each other queens, but we don't understand. We might call them now kings and queens, but when you come from the experience of knowing that everything around you is a manifestation of God, and you are also a manifestation of divine thought, you see yourself as gods and goddesses. One love God, and we take offense to that. Some people take offense to, oh, why you calling yourself a god? You calling yourself a goddess? What? Let us make man in our own image. So what image was I made in? I was made in images of gods and goddesses. This is who we are. Now, when you have individuals who have direct access with the DNA information wide open, DNA and their information wide open, how did they know what ginger did? How did you know what garlic did? How do you know to eat the carrot? You feel me? Easy. They came here as an open encyclopedia and the wisdom was just flowing. It takes a people shut down from that connection to not remember. That took years. So in his journey to understanding the power of the divine self, we have to take a look at our roots and our culture, not as a means of just getting some sense of awareness of who we are, but what we are. It is an anchor that anchors us in that we are the spiritual beings of the earth. Our culture and everything about it, the mute, and we're going to get into that. The vibrations of rhythm of a people. Thank you. Sorry. Chapter 6. The rhythm of who we are adds to that journey to understanding the power of the divine self. It is a spiritual, the roots and culture is a spiritual anchor that holds us. If you can embrace, it's not just studying your history to know who you are, but what you are. I am. When we talk about what are you? I am a child of God. Now to say that and to function as though your crown chakra and act like you know it is something totally different. I'm wearing my colors, my jewelry. I'm listening to my music. I see other people. Why? Because I am seeking to recapture the identity of who we were called to be as a people. It's not just studying. And I say black history is African history and African history is black history. Close the circle. You have to take it back to the beginning of mankind. Why? Because the creator manifested this big blue ball for us to be on so that we can see what it's like to live a physical existence. We are consciousness of God, learning and experiencing life to God. Is God experiencing God through us? Through God. Because everything is God. And in African spiritual culture and everything surrenders around community and creator. And outside from that, everything manifests. This is how we are able to give the world of humanity mathematics, art, science, astrology, and with medical research, same thing, archaeology. We were on this planet open vessels of creative, cosmic energy and creative intelligence. We were direct reflections of the mother of all creation. And there was absolutely no doubt we lived from a knowing of our being. And so studying this is getting you back to knowing your being. So at any given time, when you are in that space for those who are taking their spiritual journey serious, because some of us take it serious, some of us don't. Some of us are lackadaisical with us, and some of us not. How much are you using it? This is not an age issue, because this evolution in terms of spiritual understanding happens until you cross over. So it ain't never over. And we're going to get to that part in terms of the assignment. Ooh, that's down the line. And I heard that. But next week is about the rhythm of a people. But in your vibrations, in your meditations, when you're quiet and you're sitting around nature. And when I'm in my house, I'm not, you're not around earth. I just started bringing fresh flowers in the house, but I got crystals all over the place because crystals have vibrational stones. They have vibrations to them. And so my ancestral altar has a plan on it, and my crystal altar right there. I might have a crystal that I hold because it vibrates. God put energy in it, and I'm using it. How far do you allow yourself to go back? How far, when you're shutting down the noise of the world that keeps you in survival mode, how far do you allow yourself to shut down and go back? when they say we want you to stay in the place in which you're in. Be in the moment. Can you feel the energy of the universe as you sit still? Can you feel the vibrations in which the Creator put all around you? Do you understand your relationship to nature? How far do you allow yourself to release yourself? I know for me, when I first started this, on this journey, and this has been happening for me for years, way before I joined the Pan African Orthodox Christian Church, Shrines of the Black Madonna. And I remember it, and I don't know, it was like my greatest self. And let me tell you a story. So I would always visualize a male, built like me, looked like me. I could never necessarily see his face. He was sitting in a cave on a mountainside by a waterfall, that when the sun came up, he would walk out, vegetation and fruit around him, and he would sit down, and you go to the waterfall, he'd wash himself off the waterfall, get some fresh water. It was fresh. He'd drink it, and he'd stand there and watch the sun come over a mountain, and he would absorb the radiant rays of that mountain, and he was at peace with who he was and what he was there to do that day, if he was doing anything that day. And every time I would see him, I felt a relationship and connection to who that brother was. And I said, wait, what is that? It is my divine self sitting within inside me saying, hey, man, I'm here waiting for you to catch up. And look at the years on me as I continue to fulfill the ability, that grand design, the assignment of the brother, the young brother I kept seeing come out that cave. Now I see a little bit different. I see my future. But how far do you allow yourself to go back? Are you connected to all life, all matter? Connecting yourself to your culture, your heritage, to Mother Earth brings you back. There's a purpose for you to be here. When you are connected to the earth, you feel the oneness that you have, not only with nature, but with the mother of all creation, God itself, cosmic energy, and creative intelligence. You disappear in that. And in that experience, you understand the intellectual, mental, emotional, spiritual power, the connection you have, and you clear that you walk in this earth. Your imagination can run wild, because now you get ancestral downloads in that space. In that space right there. Right there. When you find your oneness with all things, you realize you were brought here as a co-creator. Understanding your relationship to the motherland. We got the red, we got the black, we got the green. Marcus Garvey started it for us. Black is for the land, red is for the blood. No, black is for the man, red is for the blood, green is for the land. The red, the black, the green. Red is for the blood, black is for the man, green is for the land. Connect back to it. Now when you take a look at the motherland, realize you were sent here as co-creators, and connecting with that helps you realign yourself with what you are, along with who you are. You are an African being. That's what you are. Who you are a manifestation of divine thought. You are embodiment of cosmic energy and creative intelligence here as a spiritual being allowed to have a physical existence. They want to destroy this. And you see people nowadays, Europeans, diving deep into this divine self. There's a chapter going to be on the pineal gland soon, and that as well. We already did. Y'all look at the one on melanin. Powerful. But we got to get to this point before we can actually really discuss the power. For you to truly understand the power of the divine self, man, we got to take journeys. It's not that easy. It wasn't that easy for them to destroy our connection. Nah, man, that took a long time. But the whole non-African world conspired. It took the world to conspire to shut us down. It's going to take all of us to conspire to reconnect. So if you can see yourself as a co-creator, what are you creating at the time that you're in now? That's different. What are you creating? And so I tell y'all, continue this journey as on a divine self. Continue letting go and letting God. Continue open up to your ancestors. We had an assignment and we're off assignment. Some of us are getting back to the assignment, which is the liberation of black people first. And then we will liberate the world as a whole. There's an assignment here. It's more than just you having your kids finish college and you want to go travel. I'm starting to fight. But let's find this God's dream. And that's why I play that song every time. This is a God's dream. This is everything. It's absolutely everything. And hopefully you can find a place where you feel safe to continue your faith. You can join in the African Speaks. We're making a place here at the POCC. Let's do this together. One love.